This is a WGNS Action Line. Talking with Rutherford County newsmakers for 78 years.
Since 1947.
This is a WGNS Action Line. Now, your host, Scott Walker.
Today we'll be talking about Oaklands Mansion. Different things happening at Oaklands Mansion, different events going on. And first, starting us off this morning, we have James Manning, the executive director out there. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine, Scott. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. What all are we going to talk about this morning?
Oh, we've got so many fun things going on at Oaklands Mansion all the time. And so today we wanted to tell you about our Oktoberfest, our 11th annual that's coming up this Saturday, and also our Speakeasy, which is going to be on October 16th and 17th next month.
Cool. And Connor Moss also with us today. And Connor, what all do you do at Oaklands Mansion?
There's a variety, but my main job is the events rep for Oaklands Mansion, taking care of weddings, special events, Oakland's events, all events.
Everything under the sun.
Yeah, I suppose so.
We have so many events at Oakland's, and so many of them are not our events. We have lots of other organizations, nonprofits, and private parties too that use our grounds or buildings. And so we also raise funds by putting on our own, and those are the ones that we want to talk about today.
That's cool.
Well, Oktoberfest is Saturday, so we are all about Oktoberfest this year. We've got 18 craft and home brewers or breweries and 4 food trucks. We've got a stein holding competition and 2 bands and all kinds of fun to be had this weekend at Oakland's.
It's a cool place to have events. I mean, especially with the actual mansion as the backdrop. Whenever you have things in the front area, it's a really cool place.
Yeah, we go to other events and they're so hot and they're in parking lots, but having the arboretum trees to cool the place off and the beauty of the grounds for people to enjoy, it's hard to beat.
Tell us a little bit about the history of Oaklands for those who may be new to the area.
Well, Oaklands is a nationally registered historic site because the first Battle of Murfreesboro was fought there on the grounds. The mansion is also on the National Register for its architectural significance as well as the battle significance. It was a prehistoric site. Native Americans were there first before the Mannies came there and built the plantation as founders of the city of Murfreesboro, and we're also native tree arboretum and wetlands.
I know we've talked about it before, but it's always wild when you think about how many years ago this was. But you had some of the very first millionaires who were in Murfreesboro living there at Oaklands Mansion.
Yeah, the Darrow family were the first millionaires in town, and they moved to Oakland's, bought it at auction in 1884 from the Mannies.
And I know you told me before this as well, but what was their value? What was their net worth at that point when they bought Oakland's Mansion? And what's that equivalent to today?
Gosh, I don't remember that number, Connor. Do you? No.
I think the Manny family number is the interesting number because by the time the Civil War happens, the Manny family is worth $15 million by today's standards.
Wow.
Back then, that was roughly $605,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think, James has redone the calculation to keep up with today's dollar. I think that number was come up with probably 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot more now.
That's just wild to think of, $600,000 was worth, well, today it'd be what, 15 million.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about.
A lot of money flying around back then.
It really was. And was it the Darrow family, were they the ones that had one of the first automobiles in Murfreesboro as well?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And, the description I always thought was funny that people didn't really like the car, the Darrow's car, because it went far too fast at 25 miles an hour. And it scared the horses going down Manny Avenue.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, look how far everything has come. Mm-hmm. But, sadly, I've seen a lot of homes being torn down in the downtown Murfreesboro area and, like multi-family properties being built in their place.
Yeah, it's sad.
Is that a fear of the houses directly there in front of or near Oakland's Mansion? Because, some of those homes right there on Manny were also some of the very first homes in town.
Yeah, that's the first subdivision of Murfreesboro. It's the Mannies after the Civil War, and an attempt to hang on to the mansion as much acreage as they could. They started selling off pieces of the plantation. They didn't need as much property. They needed the cash, and they created a subdivision called Manny's Addition to the city of Murfreesboro, and everybody that bought a lot there got free and permanent access to the spring for their water source. Their driveway was many times longer than it is today. Today, the driveway ends at Robert Street, but historically, it stretched all the way out to the first stop sign at Lytle, where the road shifts there. And yeah, it's not fun to see the historic houses torn down and multifamilies put in their place. that's part of what's going on.
Do you have figures as far as what the Manny family sold some of those building lots for?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Do you have?
Yeah, I think we have them in the archive, but they're not in my brain today.
Don't have them memorized.
There's a lot of numbers on the signs of the mansion, and so I always tell our tourists when they start asking that question, just find an inflation calculator on your phone, and a lot of them love doing that, and they go through the mansion and they look at the historic numbers, because we had an exhibit called Beyond the Plantation that Middle Tennessee State University did over a decade ago now, and a few of the stretch canvas signs are still in place that have those numbers, and I tell folks, oh, wait, those numbers are out of date, so you got to pull out your inflation calculator if you want to keep up, because it does change.
I wonder, and you can probably tell me this, but I wonder how big those building lots were for those homes in that first neighborhood of Murfreesboro, right there in front of Oaklands Mansion.
Well, some were larger than others, of course. The Manny Avenue houses were more substantial houses. Most of those were built in the wing and gable style of architecture that was really popular in the 1870s when that subdivision was created. Some of the houses like Big Holly already existed and had a larger lot, and then some that were smaller behind them. Mostly upper and middle class white families were on Manny Avenue, and many formerly enslaved people were living in behind Manny Avenue on the side streets. Many of those named for Civil War generals like Lee, Forrest, and Jackson. Some of those lots weren't as large.
So did they have building standards that, like, the Manny family required? If you buy this lot, you have to build a house that's X number of square feet?
I've never seen that recorded, no.
But I guess those who were buying lots to build on right there, they had a little bit more money because they were able to afford those building lots.
Yeah, there's oral tradition. We'd love to find it written, but there's oral tradition that many of the outbuildings on the plantation, the dependencies, were moved forward off of the plantation and onto Manny Avenue and into Manny's addition to become either the nucleus of some of the new homes or outbuildings for them. So a year ago, Oakland's bought a house on Lee Street that we found at auction, and it had been gutted inside, and in the auction photos you could see the log structure on the interior. And it was an agricultural building. It wasn't built to be a residence because the logs are widely gapped, not tightly gapped, and later it was chinked between the logs and then whitewashed, so it became a person's residence. And the Rutherford County Archives has done the deed research for us, and we know now that Dr. James Manny sold it to Reverend D.D. Moore, and then it later became a residence for many individuals, and we have the names of those owners. We don't have the names of all the residents, but our goal is to learn more about that property. And then we just saw a house on Church Street, wasn't Church Street the other day, that was a log house with what appeared to be an early detached summer kitchen that was demolished with no architectural salvage. All the logs and brick and everything just pushed in a pile to go to the landfill, just like the House of Mayors was on Spring Street not long ago. So yeah, it's hard to watch them be demolished and not even salvaged.
Yeah, the House of Mayors, which had 4 different mayors, I think, over the years living there, that was a pretty big, I think it was 4,700 square feet or so in size. I don't know what it started out as, but that was a pretty good size house.
Yeah, it's a big part of the reason I bought my house, is because I could see it from my house, and I thought it always would be there, but not to be.
No, and townhomes, I guess, are being built there. In fact, 2 rows of townhomes.
Yeah, I think it's 11 townhomes.
Is it 11 total? And it's interesting because you look at the price on the sign as you drive by. I think it says starting at $500,000, and then you kind of think back to the Oakland Mansion time, and man, the prices are just so different today compared to back then.
Yeah,
it is interesting and sad to see some of the big changes that we are seeing right now. What's in place? What mechanisms are in place to keep Oakland's Mansion intact and operating like it is today?
Well, Oaklands was deeded to the association was formed to preserve the mansion. The city of Murfreesboro gave Oaklands to the nonprofit that 10 ladies formed. They called it Oaklands Association Incorporated, and it still is the same 501c3 nonprofit that they formed with the intention of preserving the mansion and interpreting it as a tourist attraction and being a cultural and heritage tourism site for the county. And the stipulation from the city was that it remain open for tours, not daily, but a certain number of days a year. We far out exceed that, and that combined with the special events that we do and being able to take good care of the house, I think it will remain that way for hopefully indefinitely.
I hope so. And how many acres do you have right now? And what did that acreage used to look like, well over 100 years ago?
Well, the grounds have changed dramatically through the years. We have a map in the mansion that guests get to see when they're on tour that was created when Manny's Addition was developed in the Reconstruction era, and Dr. Manny had the remaining 778 acres that he had still in one contiguous tract. He had divided, and it put Oaklands on a 214-acre tract of land. And then the city of Murfreesboro and Oaklands Association have traded tracts of land. There's about 31 acres approximately that the city owns surrounding Oaklands that is Oaklands Park. Well, I think about 20 or so are in Oaklands Park, and then there's maybe around 10 or so that are back in the wetlands. It's another tract of land that the city owns. And currently the association only owns about an acre of land. We just own literally the footprint of land right around the mansion. But the 20 acres that are the front fields were given back to the city in, I think, 1999, so the city could receive federal funding for the reconstruction of Oaklands Park. The city developed Oakland Court public housing behind the mansion and on the west side, and the Oakland Park in the front yard, with no plans to make a historic site. And that's why the association was formed, was to run the house museum and to guide the restoration of it. So in the late 90s, Oaklands gave 20 or so acres back to the city so that the federal funds could be used to redevelop the park with a historic environment in mind. They built the Tennessee Trail of Trees, created the Arboretum, tore down the picnic pavilions that were right in front of the mansion, and built the new pavilion that was out of the line of sight. And as many folks remember, there were tennis courts and swimming pools in the front yard. And public housing was very, very close to the mansion because the intention was to demolish the mansion and continue the housing units forward. But with the reconstruction of Oakland Court, the houses are now farther away from the mansion than they were before, and it gives a little bit more of a historic feel. The new houses were designed to look like many of the houses that were built on Manny Avenue and historic parts of downtown.
I guess I didn't realize how close the swimming pool and everything, actually how close that was to Oakland's Mansion.
It would have been a short walk.
It was like really close then.
Oh yeah, if you were swimming in the pool, you could have looked up and seen the house.
That's wild. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize, I guess, when that pool was built, there were plans to actually tearing down Oakland's Mansion.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah, in about 1960, Jim Roberts brought his either fiance or new wife, Cardi Roberts, to see what had been his grandparents' home. And he said, boys were on the roof tearing off the shingles and throwing them over the fence. And he said, he shook his fist at them. He said, you boys better come down from there and stop that right now. And they said the city told us, actually the police told us, they're going to tear this house down and we can do what we want to with it. He said he went home and got on the horn to his mother and said, you and your friends better hurry up and get that house in the city while there's anything left to be saved of it. The tennis courts were about where the visitor center is, just west of the visitor center, right at the corner of it, and the raised bed vegetable garden is where the swimming pool was. Matter of fact, one of the only pieces of infrastructure left, I guess there's two. There's a little concrete square in the front yard that was probably like a sand pit or maybe a kiddie pool. I don't think we've ever known.
No.
And there's a water fountain base that's got an Elks Club brass plate on it where it was donated by them in the 50s.
The 700 acres, that would have been what, to the left of Oakland's Mansion if you're looking at it?
Oakland's was in the northwest corner of the acreage because the mansion was built in that location because of the spring. And fortunately, that was closest part of the tract to the downtown. So it put the mansion within a walking distance of the town square. But the majority of the acreage stretched east and north of where the mansion stands today. Northfield Boulevard would have been the north fields of the plantation.
It reached that far.
Mm-hmm.
And what types of things did they grow there?
It was self-sustaining, so there's very little indication that they were working to really make money off of that plantation. They had 3 cotton plantations in Mississippi, and cotton production and the slave trade drove the wealth of the Manny, Murphy, and Cannon families that developed Oaklands. But they were growing all types of food crops that they would need to feed themselves, the enslaved, their guests, and the animals that were on the plantation.
I can't imagine going between Murfreesboro and then Mississippi back then.
I mean, it was a task to get from Murfreesboro to Nashville. I can't imagine going down to Issaquah County.
It would have taken forever.
Oh, yeah.
But the Manny family, they would do that on a routine basis, I guess, just to check on their crops and make sure they're being properly maintained?
Yeah, they would have, certainly. There's a tremendous lack of firsthand records. The motivation for the Mannies, for a lot of what they did, is lost because we don't have the documents that tell us, the diaries, journals, things like that. We know more from census records, a lot of details, but the motivation is often lost, and the accounts of their travel are not known.
Did they have a big house there in Mississippi as well?
They did. Trio was the name of the plantation there, and there is a partial record of the inventory of it when it was sold, although one has never been found, no inventory has ever been found of the auction in 1884 when the Manny sold to the Darrows, and that's something we would truly love to get our hands on.
Who would have it? I mean, would it be somebody who once worked for the county? I mean, who would it be?
It's stuff like that people don't know that they have. And sometimes, I think somebody walked in one day when we were having an event and just handed us the deed for Big Holly down the street and said,
Wow.
Hey, here you go. Take a look at this. Or photographs. People have showed up before with photographs that we've never seen in the house. And one of the best ones was from the Darrow family. John Lodell found that. John Lodell at the County Archives, I think, who has found that. And there's a photograph taken from the end of the driveway looking towards the mansion. And there are the biggest, ugliest telephone poles and wires going down the driveway. I guess somebody thought, well, this is pretty fancy invention. Look at these people out here with electricity.
That's wild. When did the electricity actually come to Oaklands Mansion?
Somewhere around the turn of the century.
The Darrows bought it in 1884 and moved out in, I think, 1911, and we don't have any documentation of when they installed it, but they certainly would have installed the electricity and the water. Bill Jakes bought a photograph online years ago that was labeled Oaklands Mansion, and when he received it, he realized it wasn't Oaklands Mansion. It was the Women's Club, the basket house with its original porch still intact, and it looks, that building is remarkably similar to Oakland's. And so the architect, Richard Sanders, is credited with both buildings, but like Hunter said, there are probably photographs and scrapbooks of descendants. The Mannies sold to the Darrows with a lot of the contents of the mansion intact, and so the Darrows ended up with some of the original furniture, which they left for the Roberts family, and so all three of those families ended up with original pieces of furnishings and other artifacts, too, that have been distributed. And so there are probably people that do have information that we don't know about. They may or may not know it. Edie Manny is also a descendant of the Roberts as well as the Manny families, and just a few years ago she was able to procure a scrapbook that was kept at Oaklands in the 1920s, and it is absolutely fascinating. But one thing that's really makes you want to pull your hair out is there's so many photographs in there that are not identified. And so there's a photograph of a barn, an outbuilding, farm animals, and we don't know if we're ever going to know whether they're taken at Oaklands or not, but we just keep digging and trying to learn more.
So going back to the furniture a little bit, how much of that furniture in Oaklands Mansion today is original?
About a third of it. The founding ladies originally set a acquisition policy that we still follow, giving precedence to original pieces to the house, but also, and when those original pieces aren't available, things that have a history of use in Murfreesboro prior to the end of the Civil War are given precedent. We have a few things in the collection that are post-war that belong to the Darrows and the Roberts, but not a lot.
Is there still a Darrow family? I mean, their line, is it still in existence? Are they still living somewhere today?
There's some descendants in West Tennessee, and Michelle Russell, when she wrote Tennessee to Oz, about the Judy Garland story and its connection to the Darrow family, she reached out to them, as others have, and acquired some more information.
And then, of course, the Darrow family, they came from West Tennessee to here. But do you know why they moved to Murfreesboro?
For Oakland's.
That was it.
The Civil War significance and the grandeur of the mansion.
So they obviously had some time on their hands and didn't have to work 24/7.
Yeah, they had money and time.
How did that family go about getting or deriving at that point to where they had that kind of money? Was there research done on that?
George Darrow married into that money, didn't he?
Yeah, Tempe Swope was the third woman to own Oaklands, and it was the third time it was the woman's wealth that bought it.
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
Sally Manny inherited the property from her father, Colonel Hardy Murphy, and she was married to Dr. James Manny. Their son, Lewis, married the governor's daughter, so she brought tremendous wealth into the family. Adeline Cannon Manny did. And then when Lewis died, she sold it at auction in 1884 to the Swope Darrow family. And Tempe Swope was an heiress, and she had married a delivery boy that brought groceries to their home, and her mother bought the plantation for them.
How did this delivery boy go about, meeting her? I mean, he was just literally there delivering stuff, and that's how it unfolded?
To the best of our knowledge, that's the story.
And he would ride his bike up and down Manny Avenue, because there used to be an old grocery store on Manny Avenue. The building is still there. What is that grocery store's name?
It'll come to me in just a moment. I just talked to the owner of it a few days ago.
Yeah. It's a cool building, but
Was it JB's or something? Or
No.
am I thinking of the wrong place?
It was right at Manny and Lytle.
Oh, okay.
And it's a very cool building. But yeah, he was a delivery boy on his bicycle.
Hey, so was there a big age difference with him versus her?
I don't think so.
No, not that I know of.
There are a lot of unique things about Oaklands Mansion, I think, that really set it apart from other historic homes and mansions really across the country. But the women, that's a big thing that's unique about Oaklands, and how it was their money that purchased the home.
Right. And one of my favorite aspects is that Mrs. Darrow, around 1912, thought that they were just too far out in the country, and she had to move to town. So they built that house on Main Street and moved from Oaklands in 1912.
And that's within walking distance. It's not far at all.
But when you get a muddy driveway and it's long, and you know what,
guests are coming in their finery. You don't want them walking down the carriage path.
But they kept Oaklands Mansion during that time period, right? Or did they sell it?
While their house was being built on Main Street, 1911, 1912, they still were there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at some point they sold it and continued to live, I guess, on Main.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the house with the lions on the front porch now.
That's now I don't know how many square feet, but that's a good sized house too. I didn't know that house
yes.
dated back that far though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So that would have been about what year, I guess?
1912.
1912.
Right.
Yeah, the Darrows moved the house that was in that location back to the corner of Highland and Vine, and so it's still standing. It's yellow today. It's one of the houses on the same piece of property. And then they built the mansion at that time, and it had a third floor ballroom, so their guests, rather than
It's a pretty fancy house.
A third floor ballroom. That's different for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think I would want to be in the house with tons of people.
Well, they were
having a ball.
They were quite the entertainers, the Darrows.
Yeah.
So they had to have a ballroom somewhere. Why not on the third floor?
Well, and speaking of entertainment, things like the Oktoberfest, that's what helps to fund Oaklands Mansion and keep it where it is today, keep it alive.
Yeah, James and Sally Manning would probably not be too thrilled with us. We're more in line with the Darrows, apparently, with our entertaining. James and Sally Manning didn't allow cooking on the plantation on Sundays, the consumption of alcohol, or any dancing.
No alcohol, period, on their property, huh?
No. Things slid a bit with the second generation.
A little wilder.
The Civil War would make you drink, I guess.
I guess so.
But it was the third family, the Darrow, or the second family, but the third couple, the Darrows, that really brought the partying aspect to Oaklands. And yeah, that's what we're doing with Oktoberfest and the Speakeasy coming up in October too.
So the Darrow family, do you have any knowledge of what types of alcohol they were consuming? Did they make stuff there on the grounds? Was it whiskey? Was it wine? What was it back then?
I don't know that I've heard a specific. There's some really cool. Elizabeth House wrote like a kind of memoir, if you will, describing some of the lavish things, the watermelon ice cream or watermelon cake.
They packed ice. There were three maids wearing long white aprons, black and white outfits, and we have photographs of them since that time that have surfaced. But she said that as a girl, she was going there with her mother, who was helping Mrs. Darrow prepare, as were the domestic employees, of course, and the domestic employees were packing watermelon-shaped molds with ice cream and then carving chocolate seeds to press into the watermelon. And there are a few accounts that have surfaced of the parties at the Darrows and describing the elaborate decor and the food.
And these were parties that were like, you dress up for, or were they parties like you just go and have fun?
Oh, they would have been quite formal, sometimes very formal. Sometimes there was a summer ice cream situation.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they had, and they had the, where they pass out the candlesticks, where they were playing games, and there's a brass candlestick that somebody showed us that said, Oaklands
Oak
Mansion.
Manor.
Oak Manor.
It's sterling silver, and it says Oak Manor, and it had the name of the game they won. I don't remember the name of the game. It was one I had never heard of, but it was the prize, and it's still here in Murfreesboro. We won't tell you where it is, so you don't go break into that house and take it. But if the owners are listening, you know we want it.
So as you're describing all of this, I mean, it was like a movie set, almost like what you would see in a movie. I mean, it was that type of wealth and those types of parties.
Yes. Elizabeth House, who wrote that book, described Mrs. Darrow as having so many diamonds, wearing that she looked like a Christmas tree.
That's crazy to think about back then.
The chandelier upstairs in the mansion is always impressive to our guests. Downstairs, they're all gasoliers. The mansion was plumbed with gas for lighting when the final edition was created. It was built in 4 phases by the Manny family, and in 1858 they built the Italianate facade on the front. And for the second generation, for Louis and Adeline, and they put gas lighting in then. But then when the Darrows were there, they were traveling in Venice, and they found this elaborate Venetian glass chandelier, and they wired back for $5,000 worth of cattle to be sold off the farm and sent to Venice to purchase a chandelier. Later, after the Depression, the mansion sold for less than that, with 20 acres attached to it. But the Darrows took this chandelier with them to the Darrow Mansion on Main Street, and a couple of owners ago, the Burt McCarter family gave the chandelier back to Oaklands, and it took us 3 years of talking about what to do with it, because it was a big departure to put an electric chandelier in the mansion. So we hung it upstairs, but it's quite an elaborate thing.
And I say too, I will never touch that Venetian glass chandelier again, because it makes me nervous, but it looks beautiful. I mean, it's stunning.
So when the Darrows moved here, how big was the population of Murfreesboro back then?
Gosh,
I don't know.
you're asking the hard questions.
I mean, I wonder if it'd
I
be
did more homework the next time I come on the radio.
Yeah, like 4,000 or 5,000 people. I mean, it wasn't a huge city, I guess.
Maybe not even that.
Yeah,
Very rural.
So the Darrows were all the talk of the town then. I mean,
And even the Roberts family, after the Darrows, still had cattle out there at Oaklands.
I wonder what that was like to have this family moving here. That, I mean, they were essentially multimillionaires compared to everybody else.
Right.
And I guess the majority were either very small business owners or farmers back then.
And it wasn't too far of a departure from the Mannies, who were also millionaires at the time. I guess everybody kind of was in a slump after the Civil War, so to see the Darrows might have been a little surprised.
It would have been. I mean, I could see where that would kind of shake things up in a very small town. But it had to be quite different back then.
Riding around in their car, hitting mud puddles and splashing people and going fast and
kidding.
showing off their diamonds.
Having big parties.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been kind of. I guess for some, they were irritated, mad, angry. You know, I mean, I can imagine.
But also intrigued,
Definitely intrigued. Yeah,
probably. And they'd write about the parties in the newspaper. Same with the other families, and even the Roberts. You would feel like you get to know who was there, what they had for dinner, what they listened to, and I guess people just might have been jealous, but they were just dying to know what was going on in that house.
Who did they invite to these parties? Because they weren't from here, so
they made friends real quick.
I would imagine so. Yeah, but I wonder how big these parties were. Do you know in number how many people showed up?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know that for Christmas we can fit 100 people in there. So,
easily, huh?
Yeah.
But they had them, I guess, partly indoors and outdoors. The parties.
Sure. Oh yeah, and you could open the front windows to almost 6 feet and go in and out of those.
Man.
Oh, and it's on a nice day. It's very nice to open those windows.
And how big of a house did they come from, the Darrow family, when they moved here? Was it a massive house as well?
I'm sure it was. We don't have record of their house, but they were millionaires, and
they came from Memphis, or okay, so Memphis would have been, I guess, much more developed. That'd be a big city back then.
Yeah. So why they came to, I guess, came for the house.
That's interesting to be able to just say, well, I love history and Civil War. We're going to talk about that, so I'm going to move to this house in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee because Murfreesboro, it would have been out there a little bit. That's cool. And again, Oktoberfest is coming up. And how do folks learn more about that if they want to get tickets or anything?
Well, it's on our website, oaklandsmansion.org/Oktoberfest, and there's a Facebook event for the 11th annual Oktoberfest. Tickets will not be sold at the gate, so you've got to buy them in advance. So get on there and get yours now. They're $55 for drinkers, $25 for designated drivers. And if you buy, when you buy your drinking ticket or your admission, we don't print tickets, but when you buy your admission, you'll check in at Will Call and you'll get a tasting glass, and then you have unlimited tastings as you go around and visit all the different brewers.
We'll talk more about that in just a second. We have to take a short break, and then we will be right back. But we're talking about Oaklands Mansion and just a little history about Oaklands Mansion as well. And once more, we'll take a short break and then be right back.
This is Peter Demas, and our family's inviting your family to come eat with us at Demas's restaurant. When Kristen said, okay, when we're going to do the remodel, because we're celebrating 35 years, we also wanted to make it more open and inviting. So we made the lobby a lot more open for booth seats, a little bit different colors to kind of still keep it a little up to date, make it fresh. We wanted to make it cozier, make it a little bit brighter for people to see, to pay homage to where we have been the entire time. Demas's restaurant on Northwest Broad Street.
Hey, this is Dan with Music World and Drummers Den. Come in for your guitars, keyboards, drums. We have you covered. Our prices will normally meet internet prices. When I buy a guitar, I have to put my hands on the guitar neck. You can do that here. You can try your instrument before you ever put any money on it at all. And still cheaper than what you could get online most of the time, at least match their prices at worst. Come see us at Music World and Drummers Den, 2762 South Church Street, right across from the golf course.
We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here this afternoon with cloudy skies and a high in the low 80s. Tonight, slight chance for storms, a low near 63. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki from the WGNS Rutherford Weather Center. Currently, it's 71.
Good morning. It's finally looking a little bit better in a couple of spots. Like 840 is moving way better than it was coming out of Rutherford County there up by Veterans Parkway. That's 840 going westbound. All that traffic this time of the morning headed towards Williamson County. Now it's still a little bit sluggish. 65 south here at Trinity Lane. It remains busy with volume. 24 west at Haywood Lane, Bell Road. All that traffic coming in from Murfreesboro there up through Antioch. Hey, when you need dependable towing for your car and truck, make sure you call STR Towing and Recovery right here in Middle Tennessee. I'm Commander Chug, your on-time traffic.
The Action Line on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
We have James Manning and Connor Moss from Oaklands Mansion here in town. And once more, you do have the big Oktoberfest coming up.
It's this Saturday, September 27th, from 4 to 8 p.m.
I don't know why I can't remember that, this Saturday. And what else is coming up as well?
We got another one that I'm really excited about. We have the Halloween Speakeasy inside the mansion, October 16th and 17th.
Inside the mansion?
Inside the mansion. We don't do that just for everybody.
So how many guests do you expect to have for that?
So we have slots at 6:30, 7:30, and 8:30 for right around 50 guests per hour. And so they'll come in the secret entrance side door. They'll be provided with a password. If you don't have a password, you can't get in. I'm sorry.
Top secret stuff.
That's how
here.
speakeasies work.
That's right. That's right. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I heard stories before. I'm sure you've heard them too about how different mob members would come through Murfreesboro. Mm-hmm. Were there any stories like that tied to Oaklands Mansion
I don't think we're still allowed to talk about that. I don't know. There's still going to be ties. I don't know.
That would be fascinating to learn about.
Yeah, but we'll give you a glimpse of what it might have been like.
It could have been, like with the speakeasy.
Yeah, so we'll have jazz music and heavy hors d'oeuvres, bar drinks.
Do people have their own table, or what?
We'll have tables set up. There'll be plenty of seating for everybody in the parlor. Hopefully the weather's nice, and we'll have out back.
Yeah.
The patio out back open. There'll be several rooms you can sit in. We'll have a lady doing tarot card readings upstairs in the back part of the house, which you've been up to the back part of the house before. It's a little spooky at night.
It is. So. How many ghost stories do you have from over the years at Oaklands Mansion?
Oh, we hear them all the time. You know what I tell tourists? If you see a ghost, keep it to yourself, because I don't want to. I don't want to know, because I've been here a lot by myself.
That time period. Was it during the 50s that it sat vacant, or 40s, 50s? How many years
50s,
was it?
Primarily from 54 to 59.
That would have been a scary place at night.
Yeah, I've always heard stories of people would run in and dare each other to stay in, see who could stay in there the longest. We call it the Old Manny Mansion.
Did some people make it overnight, I wonder?
I'm sure, yeah. I'm sure that. Now, it wasn't because they were teenagers. There's people living in the back of the house, allegedly.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a large burn downstairs in the center of the mansion, and it's from a 55-gallon drum where people burn in firewood to keep it warm in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
And now, Oakland's, it's got or it had, I guess, 2 kitchens, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is
It's
it?
had
A
3.
summer and winter? Three kitchens.
Yeah, you're right. It had 2, a summer and a winter kitchen during the Manny period, and then the Darrows added the post-Civil War kitchen to the back of the mansion.
Okay, so were both kitchens towards the back of the house? Or, I mean, the summer, the winter?
The winter kitchen is below. It's the only basement room in the mansion, and it's underneath the back parlor, which would have been the formal dining room for the second generation of the family. And that way, when they cooked in the wintertime, the heat would warm up the house. The detached summer kitchen was probably built in 1858 when the front of the mansion was built, the Italianate addition, along with the slave cabins and probably some more dependencies as well. And then when the Darrows moved there, rather than having 50-plus enslaved people to carry the food from the kitchen all the way through the backyard to the dining room, they just had 3 domestic employees. And so they pushed an outbuilding up against the back of the house and reoriented it and made it the new kitchen, and had a commercial gas stove there.
During its heyday, how many people did it take to run that household?
Well, the Mannies were massive slaveholders. They had 249 people enslaved on the 1860 census. They were not all at Oaklands. That would have included the plantations in Mississippi.
That's crazy.
As well, but it fluctuated. There were probably 15, 19 maybe slave cabins. The archaeologists someday hopefully will dig the footings and the pillars of the buildings and help us determine how many and exactly, if we're right with where they were located. But maybe 50-plus people enslaved there working for the Mannies at one given time, again fluctuating wildly.
So the Darrow family, what was their involvement with slave trade back then?
I don't know anything about them. They would have been enslaved because they were plantation owners in Memphis, and they would have been enslavers as well, but we don't have any records to indicate that.
Man, it was just such a different time. It's hard, at least for me, it's hard to really imagine life back then. You know, I mean, you can read about it all you want to, but it had to be totally different. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a welcoming environment no matter what.
No, and even that's why we were encouraged to, Oaklands was encouraged to buy the property on Lee Street, in part because formerly enslaved people that worked for the Mannies came back to work for the Darrow family, and it said that they would walk from their home in that neighborhood, work for the Darrows, and then walk back. And so that would kind of indicate that maybe some of the enslaved individuals for the Mannies lived in that area before it was a neighborhood.
If anybody would like to learn more, see a calendar of events, what is the website for Oaklands?
Oaklandsmansion.org.
It's easy enough. Well, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Again, talking about Oaklands Mansion this morning. Time right now is 8:59. We're just about 10 seconds away from the top of the hour. And coming up next, we'll take a look at local news and also dive into news around the country and around the world with CBS Radio News. That all comes your way next. It's now 9 o'clock.